and welcome into the first Jackson Sun Rural West Tennessee local sports podcast of 2017. After being on hiatus for a couple of months, we are back. I am Brandon Shields, high school sports columnist with the Jackson Sun, sitting here with Michael Odom, the high school sports reporter. Again, it's a new year. We still are not really sure what that means, the difference in our jobs, but whatever. What we're doing, though, is talking high school sports here in West Tennessee, and because this is a big time to be talking about it, Michael, it's your favorite time of the year, I think.
It's tournament time, baby.
March Madness in February.
That's right.
February Frenzy.
Time for some big winners, crying high schoolers as they get eliminated, and we whittle down to the best of the best.
I'm going to patent February Frenzy. But, I'll be honest with you, and I talked about this on the radio last week. You may or may not have heard it, but, district tournaments I kind of have a hard time getting into. I'll readily admit, because you can lose twice and you're still going to move on. But once we get to region tournaments, I'm starting to get it. That's when I start to get into. You're down to 64 teams, and everybody's playing most of the time to go home. But this is kind of the precursor. This is the conference tournament before the March Madness. So I can understand the attraction of that. And that actually started last Thursday with District 14A, because they have 47 teams in that district.
9.
Okay, well, 9. I sometimes exaggerate, but had to go ahead and get their play-in game started. So technically, February Frenzy has already begun. But it'll definitely kick into high gear this week as district tournaments all the way across the state are kicking into high gear. And just kind of, looking at the boys' districts in rural West Tennessee, I mean, just kind of, which one kind of sticks out to you as maybe the most competitive one?
I mean, I think you've got to look at District 15 AA. You were there on Friday night as the number 1, number 2, and number 3 were kind of decided. Mm-hmm. We went to the final night of the season with Liberty, Haywood, and Ripley all in a 3-way tie for first place, and 2 of them played each other at Haywood.
Right.
And so I think that's just going to be a precursor to this district tournament. It's going to be really exciting. Jackson fans are excited because it's actually here in Jackson. They're going to get to see some of this good action. Haywood with Tristan Jarrett, Sharavian Hines. They lost Dedrick Boyd to a knee injury. So they've really had to kind of re-identify themselves on how they're going to score and how they're going to win. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of proved it Friday that they can still win without one of their top players. Liberty is deep. Lots of scores, lots of players that could score in double figures. No real superstar. And then, you talk Ripley and Famous Jones. He scored 42 points in the first meeting against Haywood. And then, the 4 and the 5 are very close too with Covington and Northside. So I think that'll be an exciting tournament.
Yeah, talking with Coach Dancy after the game, after they'd beaten Ripley the other night, Kendall Dancy from Haywood, he said, we got to have one of the toughest districts in the state. Well, I think his exact wording was the toughest district in the state. He said, I think that there are 5 teams that going in we know have a legitimate shot at winning this thing. And, who knows what the other 2 teams could do once they get in there. You never know what could happen. Or the 6th team. Yeah, I forgot. JCM closed down. They're not playing anymore. But
welcome 2017, bro.
Yeah, my bad. But all right, so that was going to be pretty competitive. What are maybe some of the teams that you're expecting that have just been rolling all year, and it's going to be hard to stop them when they get to this point?
You've got to first off look at a Humboldt team who's 24-1, hasn't lost to a team in the state of Tennessee all year.
Breaking news, y'all. He picked the number 1 team in the state, but go ahead.
They're playing well, and they've got a big following. So big that they've, moved the 14A semifinals and final to UT Martin. Mm-hmm. And I think that could be a really big crowd and a really exciting atmosphere come Thursday and Saturday for the semifinals and championship. They're deep, lots of players that can score, but I think Jared Walker and his ability at point guard. He's got such a great court knowledge. I think that's what sets them apart from a lot of teams. You've also got to look like, Dyersburg, a team that's playing really well right now. Hasn't lost since, I think it was early December when they lost to Brighton. They're playing extremely well. Middleton down the stretch has played well. Both of their losses down the stretch were to teams from the state of Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And they won 3 in the final week of the season to earn the number 1 seed, beating Scottsdale, Adamsville, and then Riverside at home. I think those are a few of the hottest teams around. And I think they've got a good shot at making runs here.
Well, I saw Middleton a couple weeks ago, and it was the game after they allowed, or it just happened, where McElrath from Riverside scored 48 on them. And then I saw him at Jackson Christian. They got a big win there. And I was talking to Berkeley about the Riverside games, just kind of how that happened and stuff like that. And he said that was one of the best shooting performances I've ever seen from any high school player anywhere. Like he named the 1 or 2 that are the best he's ever seen. He said this was in the realm of that, so. Yeah, they're playing better, and they're keeping the opposition from having those career nights. That shows me that maybe their defense has stepped up a little bit and playing better. That's how you win championships.
And they're without one of their top scorers right now. He's got a finger injury, John Gray, but he's expected back here pretty soon, and I think that'll really add to their defensive pressure.
Is that a shooting hand?
Not sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. All right, well, we've talked about the front runners, kind of who the teams that have been rolling the most. I know you always like to talk about dark horses. So if we were to put money on these things, which we do not endorse, so don't be saying the Jackson Sun saying we should be betting on high school basketball games. But if we did, who would be kind of maybe a good one to put some money on that a lot of people wouldn't?
If you talk for the past couple years, this is not really as much of a dark horse. But if you solely look at this year, Southside has not been that explosive team. We're going to beat everybody. They had a losing record through most of the year. I believe they're now 14-9 going into the tournament. They're a number 2 seed. But I think they have the components to make a run. If they could put everything together and do it consistently each game and not have a letdown. When you look at the post play of Cameron Rose, Jordan Reed being able to drive to the basket, Bryce McBride around the perimeter, those are 3, I think, really good players that this team is centered around. And then they have a lot of role players that do well. And so... if Southside's able to put some wins together, I think they can win the district title. They could, I don't think there's anybody in the other region that they can't beat. And so I could see
13
them.
13AA?
Yeah, 13 AA. They played Dyersburg first game of the season. I believe it was a close game, Dyersburg winning. Mm-hmm. I feel like Southside could still make a run.
I saw Southside, early January? I saw them against Fayette Ware when they came to Jackson. Honestly, I wasn't impressed by either team, but I know both teams were kind of maybe at their midseason lull at that point, and they're both playing great now, or playing better now. I saw Dyersburg a couple weeks ago. I have a hard time, unless Southside's play has improved that much, I have a hard time seeing, like if you were to tell me, I think Southside's going to beat Dyersburg if they were to play tonight, and you pick Southside, I don't see it happening. Now, of course, that was a really good night shooting 3-pointers for Dyersburg, but has Southside's play improved that much?
Yeah, I think Southside has, and at times they've looked really good. They've beaten Haywood, they beat a couple good Memphis teams at Thanksgiving. But that's why it's called a dark horse. This is one you're not going to pick to win. This is not a pick this is not the favorite. This is a pick that has the potential to go on a run, and I think that's what Southside is. They have the potential.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked. We've touched on. We've got six districts in our coverage area that we really cover multiple teams. We've touched on five of them. The one that we haven't really touched on that much is 13A. And I saw the game for the district champion or number one seeding in the tournament last week when McKenzie played at Huntington. Is this pretty much? Does this look like this tournament's going to come down to those two teams, or does somebody have a shot at sneaking in there?
I mean, I think Dresden has a really good shot at sneaking in there. They beat Huntington. They've played McKenzie close twice. And I think part of Dresden's problem has been that lull after the football championship. A lot of these players coming over, they were still thinking football. They're still dealing with recruiting.
Right.
Coaches coming in wanting to talk to them. Getting size for state championship rings.
Did Dresser miss any games? Dresser win when he was going to Western Michigan for official visits and stuff like that?
I don't believe so. Okay. I don't think I haven't heard of him missing any.
Okay.
But there's that's a lot on Dresser's mind, and him being the leader of the team, the leading scorer. A lot of things happen, and your focus isn't on basketball. But National Signing Day's over with. He knows he's going to UT Martin. Baseball's yet to come. We have our championship ring size. They're being made. Mm-hmm. And I think now, they know what's before them, and they know they can win a district title. They know how to win. They won on a football field.
Right.
16 times this year? Or 15?
15.
15 times.
15 and 16.
That's right, 15 and 16.
Hashtag it.
I think they can make a run. You can't count Dresden out.
All right. We got a couple more minutes left before we got to shut this thing down. Before we get to the last question, three other districts that we cover, one team in, 13 AAA, 11 AA, in Division 2, A West with USJ. Camden's in 11 AA, Hardin County's in 13 AAA. Out of those three teams, which one has the best shot of advancing past this tournament?
I think you've got to look at Camden as the number one seed. They're 21-5 now after losing to Huntington, but they lost to Huntington without Diego Womack on the court. Hunter Vick went off for 29. He spent 3 weeks out with an ankle injury. He's back. They won games without him, and I think that's really helped to add some depth and some scoring. I think Camden should get out of the district and could make a run at region semi, maybe even a sectional game.
Yeah, and then Hardin County, they beat Brighton last week. That had to help their district seeding in the 4-team district. USJ's got a home game on Tuesday. Technically, they're not in district. Division 2 goes straight to region. But pretty much once you make the region semifinals, that's pool play for sub-state, and you're already in the Sweet 16 of the state tournament at that point. All right, 1 minute left. This may be the toughest question of the whole conversation. If you were told, Michael, you can only go to one tournament in rural West Tennessee, you watch the entire tournament, but you cannot. You have to stick with that tournament. Which one out of this group is it? Is it 15 AA?
I think it has to be 15 AA for me. That's just really exciting basketball. You look at what they've done this year, the results from last year. It should be packed gymnasium at Liberty, both nights of the semis and finals. And, I think Covington Northside's a great game on Tuesday. So if I would have to go 15 AA.
All right, well, 15 AA, that definitely is good. And I think all these tournaments they each have their own attractions. So be sure to get out, watch the tournament of your choice, and good luck to your favorite team this week as they move through the postseason.